minute lag in between when I start and when the members are able to see the stream. So I'm going to until that happens to say anything more, but thank you for being here. And we will continue soon. Wondering why the stream hasn't connected yet. Let's see. There you are. Okay, I was waiting for the 23 of you to join onto the screen. It was a little slower this evening. I'm really glad to see you all. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm really excited for tonight's live workshop number 3. We are all getting to know each other. I can feel the vibe deepening as we move on. I was remarking today how quickly time really flies, especially when you're doing live presentations. It's just like time just speeds up. So if you're having that kind of experience this week, I am with you in spirit and also in reality, just doing the next step after the next step. And today, I hope to help you to just take it a little bit more carefully, more reasonably, and just do your best. Because I think when time feels like it's flying, what we can do to kind of regulate what is going on is to really focus in on how we're doing. How is my concentration? How is my heart beating? How am I feeling? What is my plan for today? And everything will come out just fine. So thank you for being here tonight. I am Dr. Christine Lee. If this is your first Bootcamp workshop, this is workshop number 3. There are replays of number 1 and 2. And RJ asked, will the other sessions this weekend be recorded? Yes, they will. And they will be available to you as well. So no worries if you are busy this weekend. If you can show up live this weekend, please do. We're going to do a lot more coverage of material, learning this weekend, and I'm going to do more hot seats with you all. So please come if you can make it. So let's see what the comments have for us already. Phoebe, thanks for helping RJ. Monique says hello. Olurami says hello. Ralph says greetings. Kat has the workbook already. Monique says, I have no idea, no clue where the week has gone. It has gone very quickly. The change of seasons, I think I have been told, is a little bit disruptive to our systems as much as it might be welcome. So just know that if you're feeling a little bit rockier this week, that it might be because we're actually transitioning in the seasons. And Terry agrees with Monique. Okay, wonderful. So I love the conversation. Let's keep it going. And I'm going to head to the slides right now and we'll keep going. So we're back at the Power Productivity Bootcamp, and we are in for a treat for workshop number 3, Unlock Your Best Productivity Ever. And we're going to do a little bit of a review, and then we're going to go into the ways I think it is reasonable and expectable that you would be able to move gradually and over time into your best productivity. Before we start with the workshop, I want to remind you to participate in the contest that we have inside the bootcamp and this workshop. One person is going to win the Ultimate Success Creators Prize package. And as a reminder or a refresher, that is going to be a full scholarship into the Success Creators Academy, the academy that I host for 10 weeks. Every time I finish the bootcamp, I move into a 10-week training program that's called the Success Creators Academy. In that academy, I teach many more skills related to being able to create success on demand. That's time management. That is emotion regulation. That is working towards your priorities. That is living an abundant life with an abundant mindset, a mindset for success. We're going to do a lot more work inside the academy, and I hope you all join me there. The winner of the grand prize will also have 2 private 1-hour sessions with me. So it's definitely not too late to compete in this friendly competition for the end prize. It's always a surprise to me who wins. It's always a joy to welcome someone into the scholarship for the program. And I welcome all of you to put your comments in to the Facebook group under those specified posts. There'll be one for workshop 3 today with your biggest breakaway, biggest takeaway for the day so that you can have an entry. And you can also post in Facebook and Instagram by hashtagging Power Productivity Bootcamp to get another entry. I'm seeing that those are starting as well. So I want to remind you, definitely participate in the contest. It's all in fun, but you could also win a really terrific prize. Now to continue, Donna says, I'm here, cool about the scholarship. Yep, I think it's cool too. I would like to remind you all, now is your time to rate your current progress with how you feel you are showing up for yourself lately. We did this during workshop 1. It's only been 2 days, but please do me the favor and write down where you think you are right now, where you've been since the beginning of the workshop on Tuesday. And do me a favor, also note with a separate post with a plus sign or a minus sign how much you think you've improved. Has it been 3 steps? Has it been 4 steps? Have you gone backwards in your progress with how you're showing up for yourself? I would love to see where you think you have traveled over the last couple of days. We're seeing Roxanne is 7, RJ 6, Wendy 7, Ralph is 6. Wonderful. Olarami says +2. Ralph says +3. Mary says, I missed the first 2, but we'll watch them. I'm about at a 3. Roxanne says +1. Thank you, Roxanne. Kat says now a 6. It is a +4. That's wonderful. Phoebe said feeling better than when I first started. 6. Thank you, Phoebe. The comments are going fast. Thank you, guys. When Jenny says 6 to 8. Wonderful. Denise says 6. RJ says +3. Christina says 4. I'm not showing up for myself as I should. Albina says a 6. Penny says between a 3 and a 5.5. Okay. And Shannon says +5. That's wonderful. Denise Ann says up by 4. Lovely. So lovely, lovely, lovely. This is wonderful. This is what I want to see, of course. And I'm glad you feel the progress. And we can see that it doesn't have to take months and months and months for you to see progress, for you to recognize change in yourself, for you to decide that you can make a change without struggle. I think that is my favorite thing about the work that I do, is that I teach people that it does not have to be difficult. We don't have to force ourselves into things that we want. I think somewhere in maybe high school, we get the idea that if it's valuable and meaningful and we want it, it's got to be a hard path to it. There's something about the teenage years, I think, that is really fraught. Mine weren't particularly fraught, but I understand that it is a very rich time for people and that there are many, many intrapersonal struggles during that time. My goal is to help all of my clients to reduce and release the struggle, because I really feel life is to be enjoyed, that we do our best work when we are feeling really well. And I want to see and help as many people as I can to see that and act that way as I can. That is completely my purpose in life. And I'm happy to do that work. Absolutely happy to see your improvements. Thank you for sharing them. Let's see. There are some more comments that I think I should get to. Beth says up by +3 to move to 5. Wonderful. Denise, we already covered. Linda says +1. Wonderful. Monique says started at 3. I now may be at 4. I think if I could sleep, I would do better in all areas of my life. That's a great comment. Sleep is so important. We will talk about that more. Terry says up by 2 to 3 a.m. Okay. Penny says, oh, Monique, ditto about the sleep. Carolyn says 4 or 5. Shannon says making a change without struggle. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for the comments and thank you for the ratings. keep the ratings in mind because I want you to remember that you have power to change things on demand. So that's something that I really want to teach as something that you can click into anytime you really feel stuck. Remember that Dr. Lee told you there's no such thing as stuck. If you decide I'm taking ownership of the situation, there are multiple possible ways out of this feeling of being stuck, and that my feelings are as real as they may seem and as real as they are, they're all temporary. So always remember that you can make a positive +2, +4, +5 changes very easily, very quickly. Penny says, Dr. Lee, if you could talk about sleep, it would make a world of difference. While typing, you said you're going to talk about, I could use a whole boot camp about sleep management. Okay, Penny, I can guide you to a resource that is online. If you look up Christine Lee and revenge bedtime procrastination, I'll type that in the chat, revenge bedtime procrastination. And Dr. Lee, you will get a live but recorded replay of my presentation with Tracy Otsuka about getting to sleep on time, the importance of doing so, strategies for doing so, and how all our sleep behaviors are habits. And that's the good news because we can all fix our habits. So it's a wonderful presentation. And you're welcome, Penny. I'm glad I could provide that to you. There will be more lessons on sleep actually in the Success Creators Academy as well. That's actually going to be this round's one of the most featured topics is going to be sleep. And I think perhaps because of the COVID era and because we've been in our homes so much more and prevented from socializing and getting the activity that we otherwise might have in pre-COVID years, I think it has really affected our ability to get to bed, the desirability of getting to bed, and the difference between being out of our house and in our house. So it's, I think, affected all of our rhythms. And we'll talk more about that as we move on. But absolutely, sleep is a very essential part of wellness, and wellness leads to everything: focus, concentration, productivity. So great comment. Okay. Amy says, my day was so much more useful at the same time as enjoyable, which was remarkable because I had to suddenly accomplish something medical. It was so much more flowy in terms of feeling more natural at my goals. Wonderful. Remember the word flow because that's going to be in this presentation later. Donna says 4. Amy says, working on my goals just flowed for me and now I'm good tired. Donna says, working on my paperwork plans. Donna says, not as anxious. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to move past the ratings. And then we're going to do a quick refresh on the Mount Everest exercise. Type a yes in the chat. If you were here for last night's workshop, you learned the mountain exercise and you found yourself being more ready to climb the mountain towards your goals today. If you felt that you were able to act as if you were at the top of the mountain instead of the bottom of the mountain, please drop a yes if you felt that today. Shannon says yes. Terry says, was able to have coffee and be online to work feeling an 8. That's wonderful. Donna said yes. Beth said yes with capital letters. Kat says yes. Roxanne, yes. Terry, yes. Albina, yes. Ralph, yes. Phoebe says yes. I was able to focus more and take steps towards my goal. It was also a reminder of the big vision I had. Yeah, we need reminders. We need pictures like the mountain. You might even want to stick a mountain image, literally, I'm not kidding, near your screen. So when you get tired, you can just say, where do I want to head? I can just think imagistically, where do I want to go? I don't know if imagistically is a word, but I'm going to use it. Linda said yes. Kim said, be do have stuck with me. It definitely sticks with us. So thank you so much for the comments. Remember that you don't want to approach your challenges, your tasks for the day, feeling I'm stuck in frustration. My only option is to procrastinate. I know I have potential, but I am not going to act on it. We want to get rid of those types of thoughts. We want to step into action. We want to take consistent action. We want to feel free of any burdens or free from complications up here. and then proceed with clarity and happiness and calm, which hopefully I've been modeling over the past couple of days. All right, now we're going to talk about the difference between doing things yourself and getting support. I think one of the things that was immediately recognizable to me during this round of the boot camp is that the group kind of came together very quickly and people were very supportive very quickly, and noting that it was a relief that we're not alone with our struggles. And sometimes that's the fear, even though we might not recognize it. We privately think this is worse than I can tolerate. This is worse than other people can tolerate from me. And therefore, I have to keep it to myself. And that might just be kind of a survival mechanism where we don't want to be outside of the crowd. We want to fit in. We want to feel and seem like we're performing as other people do. But privately, we might be actually worried. Am I performing at a level that is acceptable? Am I doing the things I really should be doing? And that worry can creep up. It can start to kind of build up inside your system, especially if you feel like you're lacking support. So I just want to encourage you to find support when you can. I hope that I can be part of that support team for you. And I'm glad that you all are open to collaborating here and being support for each other. So thank you for that. I wanted to ask you, each of you, what is next for you? What is next inside the boot camp? I'll talk about that a little bit later. What's next inside the academy? I'll talk about that later. But also, what is next for you? Now that you know these exercises, the Be Do Have exercise, the Jar of Life exercise, the mountain exercise, now that you see that we as a group can move into better coffee chats with ourselves, better goal management, better stress management across the day, that we can keep our big vision in mind, as Phoebe reminded us that sometimes we need to reconnect with that, because otherwise the day in, day out kind of takes the whole screen, and we don't want that to happen. We always want to have room for those really big dreams of ours. So maybe in your workbooks, if you're using a workbook or your piece of paper or your post-it note, just jot down for yourself, what is something that you would want to get to that is really big, that's really meaningful, that's really powerful for you, that you would want to make the time for, that you would want to build the effort for, and think that for yourself. And then I want to show two pictures for the two options that we have for going through to what's next. We have the option of maybe getting nervous, maybe going to old habits, maybe biting our nails, maybe feeling stressed out, maybe feeling like it's never going to happen and doubting ourselves and slipping again into those old habits. Or we can go forward more joyfully, thinking, I have a plan, I have support, I have it covered. I believe in myself. I'm learning new things as I go. I'm unafraid to take on new risks, and I'm going to go through life joyfully, no matter what happens. So hopefully all of us have a joyful future. We're thinking positively. I know I've taught you that over the past couple of days, that in some ways I might not have emphasized that enough. I'm thinking that a positive mindset helps us to feel well inside. It helps us not to start things without that feeling like, well, it could go wrong. In reality, you've heard me say things might go wrong, but I want you to prepare yourself for things going exactly as you need or better. So that's a way of, they say, manifesting what you want. You want to say, I want this or better. Okay. So you want to allow the universe to provide you surprises that are even better and bigger and more wonderful than you ever imagined. And each of us have had many situations in our lives. I think I can say that confidently, where we were thinking one thing was going to happen and then something way better happened, just because maybe we were open, or because we really stuck with it and people started recognizing, really good things happen just when we're not feeling nervous and stressed. And I think when we feel nervous, stressed, and worried, we start to crowd out the possibilities. And I really want to encourage you not to do that. So think positively. Can't overemphasize that. I can't emphasize that enough. Definitely think positively. Okay. And wonderful. Monique is saying, I need to learn to step back and breathe. Breathing is a wonderful way to regulate your feelings, to regulate your stress. I think I'm a relatively new student of the power of breathing, although it was the very first thing I learned as a trainee in psychology. I was a co-leader, a newbie co-leader in a very well-established panic disorders group. So as you can imagine, the members in this group were very high anxiety, just about the highest anxiety you could imagine. And what one of the most effective techniques that was taught to the group was the power of breathing. And I did not know that if you do deep breathing, it essentially forces your body to stop the anxiety process, because in order to breathe deeply, you need your entire system to focus and to be calm. And so tuck that away for yourself. If you're feeling panicked, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling overwhelmed, use your breath and breath work to get you through just to the next step where you can feel calm and confident again. Thank you, Monique. Great tip. All right, now I'm going to talk about the 4 elements that I believe are very important for the path of a successful high performer. The first one is being able to find focus and self-discipline. I think focus is something that can be very difficult to come by these days. You may be tired, you may be feeling the effects of the spring transition, even the time change. I know the week of the time change, every time we do the time change, I feel like I've been thrown for a loop. So, whatever it might be that is interfering with your focus, I think it's understandable because things happen. We all are balancing multiple things, multiple people, multiple responsibilities, multiple goals that we have in our hearts for ourselves and in our plans for ourselves. And I think focus and the consistency of self-discipline is what helps us to manage each of these things without getting overwhelmed. But it's also a trick to maintain healthy focus. That's why sleep is so important. That is why having healthy habits is so important. That is why knowing how to eliminate distraction when you need to is so important. I think that these are very much keys to high performance. If your focus is, let's say, at 50% because you're feeling like you're unprepared, or that you're going to be judged, or that you're half thinking, well, I could have done it the other way and I made the wrong choice. You're doubting yourself from the start. That's really draining your focus. And I believe it's allowing you not to have your best mind. I was talking earlier today with a friend, and we hadn't connected in a while, and we kind of lost touch for a little bit. And I told her, just as a friend, what you want to do is you want to unburden your mind. I really feel like that is the prime way to have our best shot at having really great focus. And what I mean by unburdening your mind is a lot, because each of us has different things that are burdening our minds. Hormones might be burdening our minds. um, Experiencing loss, recent loss, the loss of a pet or a loved one or a job or an opportunity even, can be very distracting, very painful, and very much interfering with our ability to focus. I've always thought that in this country, at least, we are not really given time to grieve, at least by employers or corporations or companies or jobs, that we're given at most a few days, when really, as most of us know, the grieving process can take months, if not years, and is so deep, and it is so consuming in many ways and in different ways for each person. And that, again, this idea of knowing how to be kind to ourselves matters, but also having a practice of saying, I know when I need to focus and I know when I need to say I can't focus, and to allow yourself to be kind to yourself in both situations. That's important too. So I don't want to go too far afield on this topic, but I do want to emphasize that knowing how to focus well and on command, that you are in control of when you focus and when you turn off your focus, is very important. Self discipline is another issue, I think, altogether. Self discipline is being able to show up for yourself and show up reliably. And those are two separate things. I think some of us are not in the habit of thinking that we deserve to show up for ourselves. So almost anything can take our focus away from showing up to ourselves. I used to be incredibly distractible. I used to be incredibly, I would even say reckless when it came to my schedule. That if I wrote something down, there was very little chance that it was going to happen, that I was going to show up, that I was going to appear, that I was going to perform. Very little chance. And since I've developed this muscle of self-discipline much more. I'm not fully there yet, I would say. I think everything has calmed down in my life, but it is practice. It is work to do this. But I promise you, it doesn't have to feel like labor. It can feel like self-improvement. It can feel like I'm heading towards a more joyful life. And that's why I'm putting in this energy that sometimes feels like work. All right, let's go to the comments and see what you guys are saying. Monique says, just as we are maybe getting adjusted to the time change, we hit the next full moon on April 6th, I believe. And yes, the moon does affect a lot of people. I agree. Christina says, I know the things you're saying are true, have experienced it. I can't seem to maintain consistency. I'm distracted by competing priorities. Unburdening my mind, having boundaries, and getting clear with what I want feels in conflict with the other demands in my life. Christina, I'm going to challenge you to start thinking about what is working in your life as opposed to thinking how burdened your life and work might be, and see what appears, right? I'm not going to promise that you're going to have a particular picture, but I want you to have the experience of knowing that there is a positive picture of what you're going through. And I would love to share with you that you can have a more balanced picture of that, and that might help you see your way through the difficulties that you're feeling. I hope that helps. Christina says, I don't mean that to sound like I'm complaining, but I do feel like I'm sliding backward and I'm tired. Yeah, fatigue might be a contributing factor. So also try to hydrate, get your exercise in when you can, and go to sleep on time. My colleague and friend has taught me something that she says, I think at night, which is my problems will find their solutions tomorrow. And you want to be able to rest when it is your rest period. Deborah says that gives me hope. Thank you. Monique said, my doctor said the greater the love, the greater the grief potentially when losing a loved one. You're going to make me cry. And that in some ways I can totally agree. I feel almost reluctant to go to those feelings right now, but thank you for sharing that with us. And grief is such a unique experience. I think it's really, I don't think comparable to many other experiences in our life. It is so deep. And it causes us all to stop in a way. And I think that's important in that way too. And it is also a reflection of the love that we have for people. So thank you for reminding us of that. And your doctor too. Rashida said, thanks for that tip. Focus on what's working in your life. Absolutely. There's always a lot that is working in your life. Denise says, that's a really great way to think about self-discipline. Showing up for myself rather than berating myself for not having self-discipline feels much more productive. Yes. Like I said the other night, nobody likes to feel forced into doing something. We also don't like to be yelled at, whether it's by ourselves or other people. We might feel like it's familiar, but that doesn't mean we like it. So get out of the habit of having it feel so familiar. Make it feel like if you walked into kind of a toxic fumes filled room, you would immediately leave. If you start talking to yourself in a brutal, non-friendly way, I want you to stop the conversation right there and say, okay, how can I say the same thing, but with a neutral or positive and loving attitude? Okay. And you can do that. And that will be a great exercise. Denise, a wonderful comment. Thank you for that. Monique said, oh, Christina, I understand. Carolyn says, Christina, I feel like my priorities change over time or my habits change when trying to form new habits. Existing habits seem to take a hit when I prioritize things such as decluttering in order to make real progress. Not sure how to add habits while keeping existing ones as well. Thanks for that share, and thanks for supporting Christina. I think we'll keep going with these slides and we'll cover some more. We're talking about how do I work with an abundance of mind, an abundance of energy, and an abundance of myself, like that I can actually distribute my energy and make more of it. And I think that's all something that we crave if we aren't actually acting in that way yet. Penny says, I didn't think of self-discipline as self-care, part of my self-care routine or program, self-care being a necessary thing. Thanks for the comment. Linda says, I like thinking of self-discipline as self-improvement. I have been interested in self-improvement for a long time. Yeah, I very much prefer the tone of self-improvement over the tone of self-discipline. But I do think self-discipline is a word that we do use in common conversation. So I thought it was illustrative here. Okay, thanks for the comment. And we'll move to slide number 2. And some of you have already made comments in this direction. Number 2, elements of being able to perform as a consistent high performer is developing routines and practices for wellness. Those of you who have been working with me for a little bit or a long time know that I really enjoy talking about habits a lot. And even if you're new to me, you might have already caught on to that. Habits, I believe, are really the building blocks for anything that we want to achieve, or even anything that we want to get rid of. Imagine decluttering an entire house, perhaps after someone has passed away. The way to do that is gradually and through habits that you put together in place. You might call a moving company, you might call the dump truck service, you might call some friends or your relatives to come pitch in and go through stuff. It's all through these chunking behaviors, chunking the habits down so that you can actually move through them. And I think routines are slightly different. Routines are strings of habits that we put together to actually save ourselves energy and time. We do routines like our morning routine so that we don't have to think every morning, okay, what do I do? Do I have to brush my teeth or not? That's an automatic thing for almost everyone here. Hopefully, everybody here. I don't want to guarantee that, but let's assume that for everyone here, you don't think, oh, I have to brush my teeth. Do I? You just do it. And that's part of conserving your mental energy, your physical energy, and that's part of your health routine. Many of us want to pack more into our healthy routines. I myself, if you've been following me on social media, I've been sprouting microgreens in my kitchen for the past week. And it's totally hilarious, zen, and fun at the same time. And I actually think it's a new habit because I can save some money. I can have healthy things at my disposal. And I get this little thing to do in the kitchen to break up the day sometimes. I'm also lifting weights recently, and I'm on day 22 completed out of 100 days of doing weights. And these are just small examples of how we can change ourselves, but we have to know what we want to change and we have to implement a system to make sure it happens because we have to counter our desire to do other things. We have to counter our desire to not be swayed by the moon. We have to counter our desires to skip things that we are committed to on days that we don't feel quite committed. And that's, I think, how wellness really comes in. I think wellness is not, unfortunately, something that we can maintain without effort. I think we need to be mindful about what we're doing with things like sleep, eating, exercise, and our relationships. I think our relationships are also part of our wellness. And so I think part of knowing how to be in flow as a successful high performer is knowing how to develop routines and practices for your wellness. And Christine is saying, thanks for the support. I should be over my pity party soon. Roxanne says, Christina, it's not a pity party. It's just how you're feeling at the moment. Sending you tender hugs. Thanks, Roxanne. Christina says, thanks. Okay. Wonderful. Please feel free to maybe jot down the habit that you would like to learn how to do more easily. Feel free to give me comments there. Monique says, I'm having to do this from my husband's passing. My condolences, Monique. December 2021. The going through his belongings is difficult. I have decided I want to live in an empty house just to make it more simple for my kids because we are not getting out of this life alive. So I'm reading your comment to say that you would like to give the gift of that kind of clarity for your children, for your eventual passing. May that be long in the future, and may you live a long and happy life, clear of clutter. And that's a beautiful wish. It is what we can do for the generation after us. Absolutely. And I'm sorry you've had a difficult road with the belongings. It's absolutely can be very difficult. Clutter in general is difficult. And then the sentimental clutter, the grief clutter, the estate clutter, the loved ones clutter is that much more difficult. So my heart is with you. And thank you for noting this. And I wish you the best of luck as you clear your house. Carolyn says, I feel like I can only focus on a couple things at once to make progress. And then lots of other habits seem to take a hit. While I hate it because I think those things are also important, I feel like I have to accept it. I think a part of it is having things you look forward to each week, learning how to celebrate your wins on your done list, things I'm not the greatest at doing. So thank you, Carolyn, for saying I'm struggling, but I also know there are ways that I can balance the struggle. I think that's wonderful. Start doing the wins list and patting yourself on the back for the small wins. Absolutely. Christina says, big hugs, Monique. Sorry for your loss. Roxanne, Monique, so sorry for your loss. Olurami says, Monique, my sympathy for you. Nadine says, is there a recording of these 3 workshops? Yes, there is, Nadine. The recordings are in the hub. They're also available to inside the Facebook group for the boot camp. You can email me at procrastinationcoach@gmail.com if neither of those options is working for you. We have more condolences. And what a gift to your family, Monique. Absolutely. Okay. Albina says, do things gradually and understand that I cannot do everything at once, clearing the clutter in my house. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you all for your kindness to each other and to Monique. And let's move on. We're going to slide number 3 or point number 3 here, which is mastering emotion regulation. We haven't talked that much about emotion regulation, but indirectly we have, because we've talked about the value of being positive and trying to minimize or neutralize the negative. So I might have said that incorrectly. So to try to say it correctly, it's important to kind of lean positive and try to enhance the positive view of what's going on to help our body regulate the ups and downs that we can naturally go through over the course of a single day. Actually, just before our call, I got a relatively important email that dropped in and felt like an important thing that I'm going to have to manage. And I felt I had to go through a lot of the thinking process of, is this going to disrupt the workshop? When am I going to do this? How urgent is this? That whole process. And I think back in the day when I didn't know how to regulate my own feelings, I think this kind of thing might have made me have to cancel or might have put me into a panic, or I would have gone blank, not knowing how to kind of get myself through. And what I've learned is that we get ourselves through things step by step. There's really no other way through things unless you've got a little bit of magic to you, which can happen, but generally things happen step by step. And so one way to master emotion regulation is to really understand that our emotions can spike, but that doesn't mean we have to lose our functioning. That doesn't mean we can't think clearly eventually. Maybe momentarily we go blank, but then we can recover and then we can restore our healthy balance of emotions. We also have to trust that our emotions are trying to help us. I think we had a couple comments ago about not berating yourself. And when you see that berating yourself is actually your old way of taking care of yourself, you can just maybe see that voice much more kindly. And maybe you can even get rid of that voice because you can say, I've got this covered. I now no longer need a brutal inner voice. I can take charge of things without having to yell at myself. And that is so great. That would be a massive step in terms of the process of learning how to master your emotions and their ups and downs. There's so many different ways. This, I feel, is where my background as a psychologist comes in handy because I've really heard the gamut of experiences and feelings and difficult experiences that people go through. And I think oftentimes support is needed to get yourself trained on what are the other options that I have when I'm feeling angry or despondent or stuck. That's also a feeling. So let me know what you think about all of this. And let's see. Christina says about the habits. One habit I'd really love to adopt and be consistent with is a morning routine. I know this works. Absolutely. Linda says, Monique, thanks for reminding me that I want to make it as easy as possible for my children to cope with my things after I die. Absolutely. Carolyn, what was number two? Number two was routines for wellness. Thank you, Christina. And Donna says, sorry for your loss. Monique Olurami says, I seem to be able to regulate for a while, and then something that should not set me back comes along, and everything that I have gained goes out the window. So, in a way, our thoughts are also triggering our feelings. When you think everything's out the window again, your feelings are going to match that thought. So, one way to master your emotional regulation is to understand that your thoughts create your feelings. That's the first step. And the second thing is to say, how can I shift my thought just a little bit so that my emotions don't spike as high? So instead of saying to yourself, everything's out the window, you can say, I've experienced a minor setback. I need a few minutes. I'm going to recover so that you have a little bit more of a platform to be resilient on instead of feeling like I have to climb out the window and grab my stuff and bring it back in and all of that stuff. But thank you for that comment. Donna said, I hate being yelled at. I simply feel like shutting down and sometimes do. Thanks for that and what you're talking about. Wonderful. Glad that helps. Monique said, so in simple terms, it comes down to self-care with self-love and understanding. We need to treat ourselves like we would treat another person. I would say even more kindly than we sometimes treat other people. We are it. It's really, in some ways, mind-boggling to think of sometimes that we are these magical creatures roaming the earth with feelings, thoughts, and creativity and energy, right? And that we're responsible for all of this. And some of us, many of us are responsible for other human beings as well in a really big way. So, yes, let's treat ourselves with the utmost kindness because I think that provides us the most room for power, right? The name of this boot camp is Power Productivity, and I think that's not an accident that I named it that, because we don't want to just get through the day. We want to feel like we're an engine. We're well tuned, like the Ferrari image that I used last night. We want that kind of power. So thank you for the comment. Let's see. I'm kind of lost here on the comments. Forgive me. Kat says, Oluramu, yes, I so connected with your comment. I can be doing well and then something happens. I need a reset moment. I also hate being yelled at. I think we all hate being yelled at. Let's agree on that. I certainly do. Donna says, I feel it's hard for me to stay on task when families say they need me for something. So a bad habit of So a bad habit of giving in and getting off track. So that's something that you can start to carve out a little more time for yourself, start to shape. I think that's the phrase. We can shape our habits. Sometimes it's not let's dump this habit and then get a brand new one. Sometimes it's just like my habit is pretty solid, but I give a little bit too much time to my family when they start going like this. And so you say, okay, I'm going to stop before I consider every request of my time. Just a 5-minute difference of time can make a world of difference. So don't think you have to throw everything out the window. You can just make these slight shifts of behavior. Terry says, I guess I'm at the age now where losing a lot of people. I lost 3 friends the weekend before last. I'm so sorry. Set me totally back to sadness and just crying when I'm not even thinking about it. Absolutely. It is so raw. Um, I feel like I have to take a deep breath. And sometimes it really does come all at once too. My condolences to you, Terry, and your community. Monique said, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Absolutely. Donna said, dealing with a recurring catastrophic physical illness is also hard to stay on task. Absolutely. We all have different things that are either really disrupting our rhythms or threatening to do so. So that's part of life. This is why I think these skills of high level performance are really important to review, to know, to learn, to develop, because they're our best defense against other illnesses, against any loss that is going to happen, against the big things that we want to accomplish with our time here and with the time that we have that is so precious. Deborah says, same principle as on an airplane. You need to take care of yourself to take care of others. Wonderful. Amy says, lately I'm better at realizing I'm having an emotion when I'm having it. So I know why I'm suddenly exhausted and need to regroup. Better at seeing the reason for the exhaustion when it's happening, which I'm loving. That's wonderful. Donna says, thanks. Monique says, I'm so sorry, Terry. Olurami says, one habit that I would like to have is a good morning routine. Roxanne says, Terry, so very sorry for your losses. Deborah says, I agree, Monique. We are spiritual beings working our way through this life. Linda says, Terry, that must have been so difficult. Yes. So we're covering so much ground today. I'm glad you're all being so wonderful and kind and listening to each other. And thank you for listening to me. As always, let's move on to the next slide. Number 4, attracting and living an abundant life. You've heard me mention the word abundance a lot, off and on. And I think this is one of the best things I have learned since I actively pursued being coached myself. I've, for 2 decades, was in traditional psychotherapy. And after those 2 decades, I started thinking to myself, I kind of want something different. That was in conjunction with me having an online business. And I really like being a business owner and entrepreneur, but that requires a whole different set of skills that I didn't really have much knowledge of. I had the interest in it, of course, but not all the nuts and bolts and some of the tech issues, some of the marketing issues, some of the organization issues. I've relied on many, many different coaches and many different programs over the past, I would say, decade. And one of the most important things I learned from a coach is how to live an abundant life. I think my life has been an abundant life. I've been very fortunate. I think part of being taught that we actually live in such abundance was so helpful to me because it helped me to think bigger about everything. It helped me to be so appreciative about all the opportunities that I get to take advantage of. It helped me to feel much more confident about myself and the possibilities in front of me, the possibilities that I can create. It helped me to feel more of an authority in my own life, that I can actually do, be, have all the things that I wish for. And that has been very, very powerful. And I'm so grateful for the coaching that I've received. By the way, as a side note, the coach that taught me that is one of my guest expert teachers in the Success Creators Academy. So those of you who choose to join me after the boot camp are going to have live training with Melanie Moore. And you can look her up on YouTube. It's Melanie Moore, Moore. She has taught me so much about living with abundance, with an abundance mindset, and living well. So, how do you attract and live an abundant life? I think part of that process is really understanding that there's abundance that we don't even know about that is working in our favor, that the universe is actually working in our favor. I think I was taught that by another coach mentor, that really the universe works on two principles: fun and expansion. And if what you're doing or how you're feeling is not related to your expansion, your improvement, your development, or you're having fun, there's typically something awry, or that you might be thinking in a way that is causing you upset or going through upset. Absolutely. We can't always be, hunky dory all the time, although we would like to. Things happen. So, part of attracting and living an abundant life is being able to have an abundant mindset, an abundant mindset of positivity, of a feeling of wealth, a feeling that you have enough and more, that more is coming to you, the feeling that you are the generator of good experiences in your life, that it's not just up to the universe. The universe can provide you with opportunities and people and chances, but you are in control and well aware and mastered your own skills of creating good opportunities for yourself. So, this is also, I think, a trait of people who are consistent high performers. And let's see. Terry says, thank you all. Donna says, sorry to hear, Terry. I can relate. Marcia says, hello. What are the best ways to manage emotional regulation? Breathing, what method? What else? I think the other method that I mentioned was leaning towards the positive perspective whenever you can. And also knowing that your thoughts lead to your feelings. So if your feelings are going up and down all the time, or they're more erratic than you feel like you can handle, you want to trace back to what kinds of thoughts am I allowing myself to think? Am I yelling at myself all the time, thereby making myself feel like a piece of dirt all the time? You don't want to do that. You want to elevate yourself to at least a regular level, that I am just as good as anybody else here, and start from there, right? And you want to keep yourself operating from that baseline or above as best as you can. And no worries about the tech issues. I understand. Okay. So let's keep going. And I want to remind you about the different states that you can have when it comes to getting things done and being the performer in your life. And some of you may have elevated your position on this image as well over the past couple days. Some of you, I think in your comments, have noted you're kind of more interested in being in the middle of the mountain rather than at the bottom. And I love those kinds of comments, and I love to see that kind of movement. So if you will, just remind me or let me know where you are, where you're feeling right now in this image. If you don't mind sharing that, I'd love to see that now. Are you feeling a little bit more confident about yourself? Do you have more information for knowing how to move from striving starter up a couple notches in this image? Let me know. And I'll give a minute so that you guys can have the comment or make the comment if you like, and just decide, where did I start? Where do I feel I fit now in terms of these tags? And we'll see what you say. Okay. There we go. Denise says, striving starter to busy beaver. Wonderful. So you're more in action. That's great to see. Busyness can be a distraction unto itself. We haven't talked about that. I think one thing I learned when I went through my learning how to declutter phase in earnest was that I was filling my time unnecessarily. So I want to advise those of you who are feeling too busy that you can carve things out of your schedule too. that I was really big on running around town and doing errands. And many of you will have heard this story from me before. That was kind of how I was spent my teen and 20s and 30s, was just doing a lot of things. But a lot of those things were not necessary. They were not urgent, and they didn't even have to be errand level quality in my life. And when I realized that, I saved myself so much time. You can manage your time in ways that allows you to have more breathing room. You don't always have to be a busy beaver. So just my little point on the side there. And Linda says, I feel more like a busy beaver today. Wonderful. Feelings definitely matter here. Roxanne says, busy beaver by continuing to put one foot in front of the other, forward progress. Wonderful. Terry says, striving starter. Beth says, wonderful. Beth says, moving more towards a striving starter from half-hearted hoper. Wonderful. Deborah says, I'm still a busy beaver, but I feel I think the comment got cut off, but good that you're a busy beaver. Olurami says, I'm still at the avoidant and afraid, but peaking at half-hearted hoper. Wonderful. Christina says, half-hearted hoper. I know the things, but I'm not able to break through my emotions to take action. Okay. I would say maybe shift that a little bit to say, I am trying or I am wishing to break through. Okay. Because when you say I am not, that gets to be at the identity level where it's much more difficult to get over statements that say I am. This is for everyone on the call. Anytime you say I am, that's an identity statement. So you want to say only positive things after the words I am. So I am a striver. I am hopeful. I am busy. I am lovely. I am kind. I am powerful. You want to reinforce your own strengths when you talk to yourself about your identity. Albina says, I feel like a striving starter. Penny says, feeling more confident in making and carrying out a realistic plan. Christy says, avoidant and afraid to half-hearted hoper. Carolyn says, a wonderful Christy. Carolyn says, between avoidant and afraid and half-hearted hoper, striving starter, and trying to figure out how to be a finisher so I don't have lots of unfinished projects. Wonderful, Carolyn. Marcia says, getting to half-hearted hoper from avoidant and afraid. Carolyn says, I'm trying to be a striving starter and finisher. That is the goal this week. Penny says, to attack things, home clutter, and poor or dysfunctional habits. Wonderful. Kat says, striving starter. Great. There are a lot of you who are making progress. I see Amy says, I don't know how it happened, but today I was confident, high performer with a wide variety of challenges. These things can be out of our awareness, and we can make these shifts in terms of where we are without our awareness. So thank you for that comment. This proves to me that I can do it. Part of what I did sort of by accident was walk by a river and take nature photos. I think that was key. Beautiful. Monique says, on the whole, I believe I have progressed, but as to how far, not sure. But keeping busy is important, but not to be too busy that I'm running away from what is real. Wonderful. One step at a time. Wonderful. I support that comment. Amy says, but in general, I'm good with the idea that different days will be different. Absolutely. Arlene in StreamYard says, I am a striving starter. Wonderful. Deborah says, oops, I'm a busy beaver, but I believe I can develop the skills to move forward towards confident high performer. Excellent. I love the positivity and the belief in yourself. Amy says, I realize I also sent people I like gifts in the mail. I think this lifted me. Wonderful. I did that. I sent one person a gift as well today, which is always fun. RJ said, striving starter, and Monique said, bravo, Amy. Bravo, indeed. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for letting me know, everybody, where you are. And I want to note that the one essential factor that separates the busy beavers from the consistent high performers is being able to work in a state of flow. I think Amy was describing that state of flow when she remarked that she didn't know how it happened, but she was able to take nature photos and she was able to give gifts today. And she was able to feel, I'm going to assume, on a bit of an emotional high. And I think those are all parts, micro parts of being in flow. That your mood is elevated, that you're feeling fine, and you're feeling like you can do all the things almost simultaneously without that feeling of resistance. I think resistance is something that we all have to face day after day after day, because either the clock is challenging us, or our mindset is challenging us, or the difficulty of our work is setting up a challenge for us, or taking care of a loved one, and we're feeling both the desire to, but also the difficulty of that. So much in life can cause us to feel resistance, like we need to hold back or pull back. When we are operating in a state of flow, it's as if everything is literally just working as it was destined to be, that there is no difficulty, there's no resistance. It's almost as if there's no concept of time. And so that's what I mean by state of flow. It's like when the river flows to the ocean, presumably there's very few things blocking it. We want to unblock the things that are in our way from acting in a state of flow whenever we can. And I think each of us has experienced that state of flow, but I think it can be something that can be nurtured, and we can see ourselves as, again, as a consistent high performer, so that we can allow the flow to happen more often. And I want to ask at this point, at this juncture, will you be the kind of person who feels overwhelmed trying to figure out what to do? Or will you be the kind of person who figures out what will get better results? I hope I've shown you how to think more positively, how to see yourself as the manager of your jar of life, how to operate from the top of the mountain as the beer and the doer, so that you can have the things that you want, and to decide that overwhelm is no longer going to be your consistent state. I know many of you started with the feeling at the top of the boot camp as you're simply overwhelmed by all that you have to do and how little you were able to get done. And I see that many of you have already emerged from that state, which is lovely. Now, let's see. The comments are, or I am that am. Okay. Marcia says, Dr. Lee, what routines do you have that help you to de-stress daily? Honestly, Marcia, wonderful question. I feel like I'm productive. I feel like I get things done, and that helps me this is my thing. This doesn't have to be your thing, of course. When I get things done, I feel accomplished. And when I feel accomplished, I immediately feel happy. Generally, I start the productivity process by feeling happy, but that cycle is a very reliable, repeatable process for me. And so that is a habit that I make sure I make time for every day. I know what my schedule looks like every day ahead of time, most days. And I feel that knowledge of what my day is going to look like most days is really helpful too. That helps me to stay calm emotionally and to know when I need to kind of get prepared emotionally. And I don't schedule multiple emotionally taxing things in one day, or at least I try not to. So getting good at scheduling is one tip. Being productive is another. And having things that make you feel happy in your day is also another good way to do well. So thanks for that question. And to feel less stressed, of course. I exercise as well, so that helps. Donna says, I'm a thriver. Wonderful. Carolyn says, overwhelmed trying to figure out what to do. Understand. Thank you for showing up here. That's trying to figure out things, which is wonderful. Donna says, sorry, my internet stuck somehow. No worries. Christina, definitely figuring it out. Carolyn says, I can figure out maybe what to do and don't have the confidence to pursue it. Okay. Again, I know you're describing what you feel. Again, even when you're trying to describe what you feel, try to shape it in the positive leaning direction. This is a habit that's going to keep paying you back, because otherwise you're going to be in the negativity state, and it's just more difficult to get into action, to take action, to feel calm and unstressed when you're mired in the more negative statements. Marcia says, sounds good, wonderful, and you're welcome. Deborah says, I'm banishing overwhelmed from my vocabulary. That's great news. I will be in process moving forward at whatever speed. I love it. Carolyn says, because I have a bad concept of time, I feel like things get worked on and not finished happens often. So I have a lot of unfinished projects when trying to stay on schedule to move on to the next thing. But then I just always have a lot of unfinished projects. Okay, it's a moment at a time, speaking positively to yourself. You will get there. Okay, higher self-belief and it will come, right? Just one foot in front of the other. Sometimes that's all that we can do, and that is enough. Okay. And let's go to the next slide. Are you going to let more time go by feeling overwhelmed, or are you going to start making real progress and building your path to your dream outcome? I hope you're all going to choose the latter. And if you're ready to become a successful high performer working in flow, I am excited to show you how inside the Success Creators Academy. I've mentioned already that we're going to be focusing on sleep. I mentioned already that we're going to have guest experts. I have one, Melanie Moore, that I've mentioned. She is going to teach us about abundance and creating abundance. And my other guest expert, Amy Lang, is going to teach us about sleep, how to develop better sleep quality and sleep quantity. She's also a health and wellness expert and an exercise expert. So we're going to enjoy both of those guest expert lessons inside the Success Creators Academy. And that's just a nice picture about the logo of the Academy. And I want to remind you that I'm going to be with you 100% of your process over the next 10 weeks, maybe 11 or 12 weeks. Sometimes these things go on for longer. If you count all the different programs that I've got planned, each one will be hosted by me. I will be present every step of the way with you over the next 3 months. And I want to remind you to put those entries in. I hope you're more motivated now, even to get that prize of the scholarship to the Success Creators Academy and the private calls with me, where we can talk about anything. And you can put the posts inside the Facebook group, and you can post on Facebook, your own Facebook page, and your own Instagram page as well, and hashtag us at Power Productivity Bootcamp. And I'm ready for questions, and we will soon wrap up. We've gone a little bit long this evening, but that's because there was so much great conversation, which is lovely. Now let's see where the conversation is. Carolyn says, or struggle with making decisions quickly to commit, or so the decisions get put off and don't get done. Yeah, we learned a lot about commitment, I believe, in workshop 2 in particular. So learn to show up for yourself. And part of that is feeling well, nurturing your self-care, how you speak to yourself. We've all learned a lot of things, I think, over the course of the boot camp already. Linda said, Monique helped me decide what my number one goal is: to finish journals I started for my children and declutter my house for them. There's so much to do, but I'm starting up the mountain. I'm very proud of you, Linda. Glad to hear. Olu Rami said, make progress towards my dreams. Monique says, for me, the biggest challenge is when I get enough rest, I do better at almost every aspect. Okay. So, Monique, that doesn't sound like a challenge. That sounds like a tip for yourself, that you need to prioritize getting rest. That sounds wonderful. So try that, right? Make rest your priority, because then you show up better for yourself. Olu Rami says, I will learn how to be in a state of flow. Mindy says, love that. Reframing the negative so it leans towards positivity. Somehow the way you say it makes it seem achievable. It is achievable. I think that's why it feels that way. Your body is always listening for what you think is correct. And it's going to send you messages and impulses and goosebumps, things like that, when you listen. And even when you're not listening. Christina says, how do you keep from interlopers from disrupting your flow? Again, it's really bringing much more focus onto how you're handling yourself, how you're regulating your schedule, how you're speaking to yourself. Monique says, thanks everyone. Have a great evening. Love and hugs. I have to go to my regular Thursday class. Wonderful. Thanks for showing up, Monique. And thanks for sharing. Terry says, bye, Monique. Have a great night. Wonderful. Let me know what questions you all might have. And I want to remind you that the boot camp is not over by a long shot. We're going to meet again on Saturday at 4:30 Eastern for a coaching call. We have not had a coaching call yet. And we're going to catch up anyone who has missed a session or missed all 3 sessions. We're going to do a quick review of all the lessons that we've gone through together over the course of this week. The week has gone really quickly. I think when we're in the weekend mode, it might feel a little bit more like we know each other already, and it can feel a little bit more relaxed. And in the coaching call, we're also going to shift to my Facebook group. So that's something that you should know. It's going to look just like this, but will be inside my procrastination coach Facebook group. You all will be given the correct link to get into that live stream. It's just going to feel more like a conversation, I believe. And we're going to do some coaching where I'll take your questions. We'll work through individual issues. We'll get to know each other more there. So please make sure you show up to the Saturday call. If you can show up live, I would recommend that you do so. I'm going to show you a new technique for stress reduction there. It's not a new technique, but it might be new to you. It's called tapping or emotion freedom technique. And I'll be taking a couple volunteers that evening to do a couple rounds of tapping. And we're also doing the review. And then on Sunday, we have the big celebration party where we will review all of your wins, and we will also reveal the big winner of the Ultimate Success Creators Prize Scholarship to the Success Creators Academy. So you definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to feel like a party. It is going to be a party, and I hope you all are able to make that party as well. And I believe that is it. Thank you for joining. I will see you next Saturday. And before we go, I'm going to just make sure that I haven't missed anything here. Terry says, what does the coaching call entail? I have plans. I can't change Saturday. Okay, that's no worry. You can watch the replay. I would suggest you watch the replay as soon as you can, when you can, because I'll be giving some instructions for participating in the celebration party. But enjoy the plans that you have on Saturday. And I will see you on Sunday. Marcia says, thank you, everyone. Have a nice week, I think. Donna says, yes, great for me. Albina says, by watching yesterday's workshop, I was motivated to be present to today's. Thank you for the replay, I think. Albina says, oh, rekindling my motivation. That's wonderful. Thank you for that comment and that gift. Christina says, I'll miss you Saturday. It's prom night. Oh, congratulations for your favorite daughter. Enjoy, look lovely, and enjoy this wonderful occasion. Christina, enjoy. Rashida says, thank you so much. You're welcome. Denise says, thanks. Mindy says, flowers. Thank you. I love flowers. Albina says, I will not be able to be with you Saturday, but I will watch the replay. Thank you so much. Terry says, see you on Sunday. Penny says, thanks for all the sharing. Blessings and be kind to yourself. To those of you who have experienced losses. Yes, everyone in the room, please be kind to yourself and to each other. You all have been. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm going to remove this slide and say a proper good night to you all. Carolyn says, what time is Saturday? It is 4:30 Eastern. Donna says 4:30 Eastern. Thank you. I really want to learn more about tapping. I will definitely try. Thank you. Yeah, definitely show up and I will see you all there. Have a wonderful evening and good luck with Friday ending the week. And I'll see you on Saturday. Take care. Bye. Thanks for being here.